pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And so is she. And so is she.
Approval of the agenda. Your item I did because I was out with Ira doing budget stuff, so I didn't get to add
The last
letter.
letter?
Yeah, so,
As
and I,
as
I
always,
could do it
Gene,
during,
you're
if you
more
want me
than
to do
welcome
it
to
during
join us.
public comment, I could just
Okay.
read it and then give it to Becky and
okay.
then we're
And enter
done.
into the
It's
meeting.
fine.
Okay.
It's fine, I just, you know,
Right.
I'm helping these folks by representing it.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Oh, here comes Lucchese.
As usual, Ariana, you're more than welcome. Unless you feel more comfortable not being associated with us crazy people.
Hello.
Hello?
The chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, deletions?
I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? The minutes from our last meeting, are there any changes, additions, corrections, or deletions to those?
Not that I saw, I can't speak for anybody else.
Anybody else? No? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Steve, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comment? No?
I have a question.
Yes.
You're running for town supervisor,
Yes, sir, yes.
and you're on the police commission,
Yes.
yes, and you're also negotiating for the PBA in Newport. For that time.
Yes.
Could you tell me legally, you could do all three things?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
You could be running for office, be a chair,
Yes.
and negotiate for the police department.
Yes.
Where does it say that?
Where doesn't it say it?
No, where does it say that you can do all three?
Well, my term doesn't expire here until 2014. So I'm running for office as supervisor, which is a 50-50 shot, which means that if I am elected in November, I would have to resign my seat as chair of the police commission. As the chair of the police commission, we appoint members to different committee assignments, and it has been the practice in the past that the chair is the representative to the PBA negotiation.
Everybody would.
I don't know what the real issue might be because I'm on the town's team. So I am not negotiating for police officers. I am negotiating as a member of the team for the town. So that's how it's always worked. I'm a member of the team with Susan, who is also running, Jeff Logan, who is also running, the chief, and who's not running, and I believe Gene Gallucci. So,
Okay, question, you asked the question.
okay. Was there a
Fun meeting.
No? Okay. Are there any other questions and comments? No? Okay. Reports and
Wait,
follow-up.
I do have a letter to read for public comment, if you don't mind, the neighbor's letter.
Oh,
Is that-
yes, I'm
Yeah.
Is this a
sorry.
good time
That's
to
right.
read it?
That's right, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's a little letter to me, and then it's a copy of a letter that was sent to the chief the other day from Horse Feathers.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Amy. It was nice seeing you this afternoon, and congratulations on your appointment as police commissioner. Our meeting today was fortuitous. Please see the email below, which was sent to Chief Schneider, Lieutenant Oz, and Detective Lucchese, with permission by Isabella to include the mention of the theft in her store. If you would like to add our thefts to this evening's agenda, know that we would appreciate any attention you want to give this matter. In-shop cameras are coming. We love to know there are cameras on the streets, too. No one is guilty of theft until they've left the building, and anything that could be captured by other cameras would be helpful. And of course, in this day and age, municipal cameras are a necessary form of proof, record, and just enhance the security of any community. So that's best regards from Horse Feathers of New Paltz. Here's the forward from the letter that was sent over to the chief and the detective and lieutenant over the weekend. Dear Chief Schneider, we had 2 items stolen Sunday, August 4th, 2013, between 3 and 4:30. One was a Guerlain, I don't speak French, so perfume bottle, B pattern, crystal, see photo, and the other was a collection of 4 vintage Mexican ceramic plates, red clay body, having primitive hand-painted decorations in white, yellow, and luncheon-sized plates. At retail, the bottle was $3.50 and the plates were $45 each, or $180 for the set. Also taken in the village that day was a $600 necklace. It was taken with the display and all from Isabella's. While we here at Horse Feathers are relatively certain nothing can be done to retrieve our stolen merchandise, our thought for your department is that perhaps you would like to come here and dust a couple of things for prints. We may have a new resident in our midst who has a problem and whose prints are on file, or should be. And it's just a description of the items. If you would like to come here and dust for prints, you may do so at any time. And if our items are found locally, we agree to press charges and would hope that the combined value of retrieved or stolen goods from various merchants would bump the charge up to a felony classification. Best regards, Jean, Horse Feathers. And I could give Becky a copy of this if you want.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Reports and follow-up. Chief?
One, if I can just do a quick response in regards to that letter. Please encourage anyone, any resident or business owner, if they have an issue with theft or any other type of issue, they should contact us immediately, the police department. I did receive an email today, and I also spoke to, I believe, her husband at Rotary today. This theft occurred 4 days ago. The email came today.
And they just reported it now.
It's just
They didn't
reported
call?
today. No. Not that I saw. I had the C line today come in and take care of that, open up a case. But I don't believe they called before that. And she indicated in the email that she'll save the fingerprints for me to come down. So encourage people that if they have any issue, we're more than happy to look into it, investigate, but they need to let us know when it happens and call the dispatch number to have an officer respond.
Is there some kind of sheet that you have for a protocol for the shop owners if they catch people shoplifting or in incidents like this?
If they catch somebody shoplifting, the officers will go down, they'll respond, they'll fill out the information form for a petty larceny, grand larceny, whatever the case may be, or have the business owner come to the station when they can to sign the complaint. But if they catch somebody, we respond right away. We take somebody into custody. And I think, I don't know if they have a suspect in this or not. The officers hopefully will determine that, speak to them. Even if they don't have cameras, sometimes there's other methods of, figuring out who our suspect may be. But it's very important to be notified immediately. We don't have a special form. They just have to pick up the phone and call. And we'll take care of all the paperwork and forms and steer them right through the whole investigation.
I'll definitely let them know.
Trust me, I sometimes get phone calls, my personal cell, from people that know me to tell me there's somebody driving they think is drunk. I'm like, well, why are you calling me? It's
Right.
8 o'clock at night, I'm home.
Right, well, I mean, this really stuck out to me especially because Horse Feathers is actually next to my home. And I also own and operate a store around the corner from there. So, these are the kinds of things that merchants worry about, and, these are real issues that people are having.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we get notified, we can investigate it. We always tell people, even if, you wake up and you find a flower pot missing from your lawn, you may not think it's that serious, but
Right.
you don't know how many other people maybe were stolen,
Right.
or how many noise complaints or officers encountered somebody carrying a flower pot. Usually we'll identify them, and then when we find out where it came from, we can make an arrest on that. So it's important to always notify us, even if they think it's as silly as can be.
Thank you.
information for the month. The first one came from our dispatcher in reference to a phone call that she had took from a board president from one of the apartment complexes here in town. Just to thank the officers that responded to an alarm late at night. It was Sergeant Duke Bunce and Officer James. Said their dedication and loyalty to their job was amplified by their action, and is truly grateful to have guys on her side. So it's a good thanks to all of us in what we do. It was nice to receive letters like that, or phone calls, messages like that. The second one was a letter. Came from a homeowner that has a rental in the village, and officers were called to assist in regards to a issue with a tenant that was moving out, having some issues. Just asked for the officers for assistance to kind of supervise the circumstances. There was Officer Phil Kraus and Officer Mazzari, and again, just thanking us for being there and assisting in a time like this. Defensive actions for the month. There's one only for this month, but you also see there's another attachment from last month's report. This one, the officer's part-time wasn't in, so it came in late, but the case is updated with this being part of that case. If you'd like me to go over it again, this is just a third of the other ones.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know about any other commissioners, but, you know.
We reviewed these last month. It's just
Yeah.
the same. It was just
We just didn't have the
assistance
specific-
of the third
yeah.
officer.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, for this month, there's 2 defensive actions for 1 case. Had to do with a MHL, and it was a involuntary transport. Officers responded. It was in regards to a violent domestic. The party involved being a 29-year-old female, weight 5'3", 175 pounds, medium build. She had some self-inflicted wounds. When they went to take her for transport, she became combative and refused verbal directions, and was physically taken down to the ground and restrained in order to be transported. No injury, just the treatment for her self-inflicted injuries, and then the transport for the MHL reasons.
Excuse me, Chief.
Yes.
If you're done, I have a question about last month's report that I just saw.
Yes.
On Marlette's report, I'm a little concerned about the narrative and the way it's written up, is because under action used, it doesn't relate to the narrative.
Personal weapons was in regards to the wrist lock?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if he had to draw his weapon, there had to be a reason for it.
That's personal weapons. Personal weapon is...
It's hand.
Hands-on.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure, because, to me, when I see the word weapon, I don't look at a guy, who's put a wrist lock on it as using a weapon.
Yes,
And
under
once that's
defensive
okay.
tactics, we also have personal weapons. They may be arm bars, wrist locks.
Okay.
It could be a
Thank you.
blow from the hand, elbow, knee, foot. There are personal weapons that we use to...
All right, I just wanted to clarify, because, don't usually see that when they use the arm bars or the things, they don't usually show it that way.
Sometimes they list it as a takedown because the takedown is part of it.
Exactly. That's why I was curious,
Do you, the domestic that you were
Yes.
referencing, do you send a male and female officer to those usually?
It all depends on officers that are working. There's not really a mandate on, a male and a female. It depends on how our staff is. We do have several females that work for us.
Okay.
So. In the report, you'll see that you do have May's report, community report.
Mhm.
That was completed, and that's included in this packet as well.
Yep, I saw that.
Is that it?
Anybody have anything else?
No. Personnel committee.
We're in the process of wrapping up the evaluation for the chief, so do the chief's evaluation
And then September, we're going to be doing our little audit.
at the latest, yes. We'll be doing our file check, personnel files.
Technology Committee?
Yes, thank you. We had several meetings at the police department over the past month or so to try to get a better handle on what the state of affairs is with the police department's software and hardware infrastructure. So we had an initial meeting on July 3rd before our last commission meeting to do some preliminary work, and then we met again on the 24th of this month with representatives of last month, July 24th. And we met with representatives from Steamboat Data Systems to discuss their police department management program called Police Pro. They provided us with a comprehensive demonstration of their applications capabilities with respect to the department operations and fiscal analysis. The overall consensus was favorable. During that meeting, since that meeting, the chief has also provided additional information from other vendors, and we'll be looking at their applications in the future. I had asked May Morales to put together a needs analysis, hardware needs analysis, which I sent copies to. I don't know if anybody's received them. She did what I thought was a very in-depth analysis, very easy to understand. And I'd like to just point out a couple of things from that analysis for those of you who may have not had a chance to see it. There have been a lot of changes in the police department and its infrastructure needs since the current system was acquired. They include a dramatic increase in the number of workstations and the number of field units, as well as interagency demands to exchange data. Her opinion was that the current server is essentially operating on borrowed time. It's not scalable anymore to meet the future demands that will be placed on the department, and it's questionable how well this can even, or for how long it might even be able to handle the current demands. It's not cost effective to try to improve its performance. It really needs to be replaced. The operating system it's using is no longer supported by Microsoft. We talked about also how the track system is increasing the operating load on the existing system, and we discussed in further detail some of the shortcomings, and all of that's in May's analysis. So the current software, the PD Manager, was acquired almost 15 years ago, and it's pretty well antiquated, something that became very apparent when we had an opportunity to see what a modern system is capable of doing. It really made very clear that there are gross deficiencies with the existing system that translates into increased operating costs, which we believe would be significantly improved if we can modernize the system. So we're planning on putting together a cost-benefit analysis to try to demonstrate how an upgrade will help save taxpayers money, hopefully, but also how it's going to help issues like public safety and daily operations of the police department.
Data mining.
Better
Data mining,
efficiency.
of course. I mean, Ira was, his opinion was favorable with this particular program, that it could give the town exactly what it needs presently with regards to Park Point and at any time in the future.
Are you saying the Steamboat data system would be able to do the data mining that I was looking
Yeah.
for?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what was nice about that system, first of all, the system was developed by policemen themselves. They have a good track record. They're serving several police departments in the area. We're going to do some more checking. We're going to get recommendations, references, try to survey the other police department's satisfaction. But they're also local. They're based out of Poughkeepsie and a little further upstate. And so I think they would be very responsive if we needed support. And they actually demonstrated how they could modify the program to our needs. They actually changed the program, the database, right in front of us within minutes so that Ira could get exactly what he needed.
Gene, the interesting thing is, it's not just my data. When I saw this program is mineable by the user. What that means is, if you wanted to know, for example, what happened in a specific street on a specific time, you can do that. And it's, right, and it's not something that you have to pay for. Like the guy says, he's told us, he says, yeah, he does a lot of these minor data programs for different departments. We want to know, for example, without having to go through anything specific, we had, 6,000 calls to the village. How did that break down by bars, residential? We can do, you can do it, but it's a time-consuming thing. I mean, in addition to everything else that this program does, which, if I can, just a couple of things, which is, I mean, the Chief's Eye is one of Laurie's sources because it was a usable program.
Okay.
And it was a very user-friendly program. For example, this program will allow the officer to scan the license in instead of having to write all this information down and link it to the other databases, which you can't do now. You can do multiple entries, which means that if the detective is putting in his little thing, Officer 1 is putting in his little thing, Officer 3 is they can all do it at one time. That's a big time saver as opposed to just sitting there with downtime. And it allows the people to talk to it. They can't change it, but they allow them to see what the other guy is putting in, and it's a great thing. Also, it has voice recognition for dispatch. Which is, I'm saying, what he was going through, forget my mining program, it's just the use of this for the town in gathering information so that it knows what its costs are and where its costs are and who's using the bulk of everything and why. I mean, that's if the town wants it. This is available because of this mining, because this program allows it to be mined. Doesn't get into any information that you're not allowed to get into, because it's just a mining program. But it'll save, we figure it's going to save a lot of time. It's going to answer a lot of questions that may come up in the future. I mean, whoever thought back a year ago or whatever, before anybody knew it, that we'd have this Park Point situation? I mean, it's just something we never thought about. Had we had this program, we wouldn't be in this situation now where he says A and A says B and B says D and where's your information? It's all right there. You push the buttons and nobody has to calculate it.
I don't understand. What information would you get out of this software? What would be available in it that we haven't already calculated?
Well, one of the things that would be an easy calculation would be the man
Right? You're
hours.
talking about something that's actual, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be the actual man hours at a
Right.
call, which our system does not do now. Besides the ability to do that, again, I've always said that, on my end, just for that alone, that isn't really a concern to me, because as long as we get the information out that we need. But what I do find with this software is the ability to have more than one officer taking care of their arrests at the same time. The way our system works now, if somebody's in the case, somebody enters something and the other person didn't log out yet, whoever hits save last deletes
Even if they
everybody
have
else's
two
stuff.
different case numbers?
Well, case numbers is different, but if you're in a case, if we go to a large fight and we
Only one
arrest
set of hands can be in a case
in a
number
case at a time.
time.
So
Got
if
it.
4 of us are tied up on an arrest and investigation and statements from a case, only one could be making entry at a time.
Got it.
So the ability to, and again, as Commissioner said, we're going to try to come up with actually cost savings based on officers' times, efficiency, being out on the road to be able to patrol rather than waiting their turn to do paperwork. So there's a lot of
Well,
positive
that's a
things
lot
to
of
this.
work. Okay, so really, my question, all right, are you ready? Okay.
Wait.
Seriously,
Good.
because that's a lot of work. I mean, I know you wanna compile something positive before you go in front of the town board, but I did say that if you got this together for me, then when I sat down and I talked to the supervisor when we started doing the budget, I'm not asking you to write this into your budget because you know what'll happen when you come to the table, all right?
Right.
Is Steamboat on state bid? Do you know? Did you ask?
I don't know. I
Would
don't
you
know the
ask?
answer.
What was the question?
I
Are
don't
they
know.
on state bid? Are they on the?
Oh, on state bid. I'm
Office of
sorry, I didn't hear
General
you. Yeah.
Services?
I'm not
Okay.
sure if different vendors do that, if they have, as
Some
far as
of
the
them have
software.
been screened.
Yeah,
I
so
was
we can
in
look
New
into that.
York.
Yep.
That would be very important to me.
Could you just explain to me the implications of that, because I'm
Okay,
familiar with it.
if they are already on state bid, they will have a contract number with New York State, which is for municipalities, school districts, and the like, because they've already been screened
I see.
through the Office of General Services, which means that the state of New York says you can buy it without comparing it to anyone
I
else.
see.
We've already screened it, okay? And if they're not on, well, because of the price point,
Mhm.
I would have to say, could you get me something comparable to look at $50,000? If you could look at another software, but if it doesn't, buying the cheapest, we already know that buying the cheapest is not always the best. This sounds like it's gonna give the police department value. It's going to ultimately save taxpayer dollars. It's gonna save time, create efficiencies. All of that is not bad. But I also need sound financial reasoning.
If I
So it would
don't,
be wonderful if it's on state
isn't this
bid.
program in play in Saugerties?
Not in Saugerties, this is Red Hook.
Red Hook, New-
I know
Newcastle,
it's with local, his references include local municipalities. I don't know how that works, Gene, but just to let you know. that
But we could find
One of
out.
the reasons
Statement
we,
is a little different, but we can look
yeah,
into
the reason we
that.
talked to him was because he did the locals.
But the
But we
thing-
have no problem, do what you
All right.
want, yeah.
I just don't have my phone with me, but we have Wi-Fi in here now, so somebody can.
But the thing I just want to emphasize one more time is that it's not necessarily a question of whether we make the upgrade or stay with what we have, because what we have isn't going to last very long.
But it's outdated.
Well, the software's outdated, but the hardware
Oh, that I know.
is
Yeah, two
firing on two
pieces.
cylinders.
There's two pieces that it,
Two
yeah.
pieces.
Got it. So, all right. So I just wanted to
I looked it up.
reemphasize that. I'm sorry.
Right, well, all right, so just so that you know,
Yeah.
because what I'm thinking is not just, 50,000 for the police department, although I will say that that's probably the biggest hit if we were to do an upgrade. And the town itself hasn't talked about it, but I'm willing to bring it to the table during budget discussion.
So that's, yeah.
In reviewing May's analysis of that, and even the information from Steamboat, those numbers are not necessarily inclusive of some of the things that might have to be purchased in addition. So I think realistically, if
But
the
you
numbers
did kind of put a disclaimer in there.
Well,
that
you
When you
know.
get closer to purchasing, this will be reviewed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So, but I mean, if a number is going to be generated for the purposes of budgeting, I think there has to be parenthetically another number to reflect any additional, whether software or hardware acquisitions, configuring expenses that are invariably are going to become self-evident.
Right, but the 50,000 is for an out-and-out purchase
Per
of everything,
purchase.
correct?
Yes, everything
Okay.
they've outlined in their proposal. Asterisk.
Purchase isn't the jumping start-off point.
So-
If you look at everything, maybe there's other ways to do it.
Bruce, when you mentioned that you were gonna, your next phase is the cost-benefit analysis, do you have a sense of when you guys will get that finished? And the reason I'm asking is for the same reason, for some of the reasons that Gene was mentioning, because I would like to recommend that once you guys have fully completed all the information collection and cost-benefit analysis, what I would like the commission to do is to perhaps endorse what you have, and then for you, Ira, and the chief to make the presentation, perhaps with Gene or, to the town board, and, hopefully they will take it up when they look at some of the other stuff.
We have a meeting scheduled for August 16th.
August, what was it?
16th because we have a little bit of homework to do. So the idea is to bring that homework to the meeting and try to distill it down into something meaningful.
Right.
Something that can be presented in a coherent way without it, being overly complicated necessarily. And I'm not sure that we'll have it complete, but I think,
Okay.
I'm hopeful we'll be well on the way. So conceivably, if that's the second week in August, it could be maybe right after Labor Day to have something definitive.
So for our next meeting,
Hopefully.
perhaps, yeah, okay,
Hopefully.
okay. And if, I guess we could, if you all thought it was important enough, we could call a special meeting to get it out of the way and get it to them, because I know you
Yeah.
guys are working on budget and stuff now, so the sooner
Right. Well,
you would have it, the better, right?
Right, but I don't think that I would make a recommendation to the board that we put this like right into the budget. I kind of think it's something.
Oh, yeah,
more
it might be long-term, it might be
Right.
phased in, it could be,
Or it could be something townwide, it could be something county.
mhm.
But the thing is that the police department needs like dual parts of it, whereas in town hall, software needs have been upgraded. I mean, two departments have already been upgraded
Right.
since I've been here. That's a year and a half, so they've been suitably upgraded.
Which departments were those?
Well, the bookkeepers, the financial department was upgraded in 2011, which was just before we were elected. And then the building department and planning and zoning got one system that integrates with that same system, so that it can all be tracked now
Right.
simultaneously, which, it's really a good way to go. As long as you don't have too many hands in one pot.
As you said, this is two segments. The one part
Yes,
is
you are two pieces.
the hardware, which is even the bigger need than the software, because the hardware can fail at any time. When we put the server in that system, there's been a lot of changes in how we do business and how we operate, what we operate on that system. Without getting into all the different programs now that go through that, the server doesn't not even support what we're running now. So that's why it's two pieces. The one is very important. The software is important for many different reasons. However, that's not like threat, where the server in that system is a big concern.
The only thing that I would say, Chief, we don't really know because it's such an old version of PD Manager. I mean, I wouldn't assume that it would run well on a new system necessarily. I mean, you have to think about the cost of reconfiguring.
Sure. Yep.
So that has to be entered into the equation.
Right, if it's compatible at all or not.
If it's
really
even
important.
compatible or
Yeah.
not.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's not, then what you're talking about is a simultaneous upgrade,
I think
in my opinion, and that's only mine.
I think the reality is that that's the way it should be considered to ultimately reduce costs the most. Once you have to start redoing things, things get left out,
Right.
You need to have the software operate optimally with the hardware. And if you buy one before the other, you don't necessarily know how well that's going to all work out. That would be my only
Right,
concern about
so
that.
it sounds like to me what's been happening over the years is that as things broke, you got a new laptop, you got a new computer, like pieces were replaced that way, which is a relatively cheap way to go. Replacing one piece at a time. You're only talking about, at most, a couple of $1,000, sometimes if you're lucky, only a couple of $100.
But this upgrade in that quote isn't replacing everything, but it's replacing things that are needed to be replaced,
Okay, it
as well as
sounds-
the main server system.
Okay, it sounds like the server is a critical component here. You're meeting with May on the 16th?
We were getting, I don't remember if we had asked her to come to that. It was going to be sort of more of a workshop with Ira on the numbers and maybe the chief and Detective Sergeant
Okay, my
Lucchese
only
on-
question would be that if, well, I guess guess if we can get it to the next stage, is that what I would ask is May to kind of look at, maybe leases, a lease for the server, because it's, you know, a smaller cash outlay, and there's a 2% tax cap. And it softens the burden to the taxpayer over X number of years. And Dell, well, they used to be under state bid.
Yeah.
So it was a good way to go. I did it with her years ago, and I would just have to look
Definitely look at
online
it.
and see if Dell is still part of it.
Yeah. You know, May did mention that the existing server is an adequate server under other circumstances. It's totally overloaded for what the police department needs, but it could function well somewhere else in the town.
Right, maybe we could recycle it.
Exactly.
Maybe, you know, maybe somebody else. And this is the other thing, because May does the entire town.
That's right.
Is that maybe she could look at maybe Highway probably has Interior.
Yeah.
Because really, they're out on the roads, I don't know how much time they spend. So it'd really be something we need to speak to the Highway Secretary about, because she's the one who's doing all the
Sure.
funding, right? But recycling with the zero waste, and she's doing a grant reimbursement that she could probably use some upgrades out there. So, yeah, you guys are just like the first piece of a big old box that I would like to talk to the supervisor.
It's probably the most expensive piece. Because it's got a lot of moving parts.
But I would expect that,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Ellen?
Point of information?
Yes.
Would this new system help with FOIL requests?
Foils.
As far as the data mining stuff, would it make any difference?
It depends on this information that you're asking for. It will definitely give us more capabilities of certain type of requests that our system does not produce now, such as man hours per call. If you wanted to know that, we wouldn't be able to get that where this system would. So there is some differences that you'd be able to get at it.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
You
for me.
talk about the
Thank you.
hardware?
Huh?
No, I thought, no, we were talking about the software. I was just wondering if you were going to discuss that.
Well, I mean, I sort of used.
Oh, okay, you did both. All right,
May's,
yeah.
May's analysis
Yeah, money and time.
to convey that information.
Great, thank you. Good job, guys.
Just,
Good
if,
job.
you know, as a point, just that, you know, anybody who was trying to get a report from the chief that's of any size, the computer, the CPU says, I ain't giving it to you.
Yeah.
I don't have the capability of it, and it shuts itself down.
Yeah.
That's just something I want to throw out.
Do you guys have any information you want to share with us, or no?
Oh, were we bothering?
No. I mean, we're
No whisper.
under reports, and I used to put them on, but you guys, you know.
We
so
didn't
if
have
you, do you have
regular
any?
things to share. I was told that there was information that we're looking for accidents and that we have that information.
Told you that.
Me. Well, you told me about it because you wanted to have it ready in case
Yes, at the-
you
at the
brought
last
it up, and I
commission
figured
meeting.
they'd forget.
Detective Sergeant Lucchese did, he updated me on different happenings at the commission meeting. And one of the questions that came up that you were inquiring about,
Excuse me for a minute.
accidents in the village, locations, with our track system, which we do our accident reports, everything's electronic anymore. There is a way to track some data that will tell you a date, location of an accident, if it intersects with a whatever intersection, injured, how many injured, fatalities, pedestrians. Doesn't have bikes, I don't believe, in this report, but it does have pedestrians if that was involved, and a case number. So this may be something that you're looking for. I'm not really sure exactly what type of report.
Can I ask a
It's
question about that?
monthly- I'm sorry?
I just wanted to ask a question to follow up with Ariana. Is it going to be possible that we could put in the location, and then, like, if we know that we have a corner that's a problem, that we could put in that address, and then, like, all the accidents would come up, and we could see, like,
When you did the search, you can do it by location as well.
The search parameters enable you to search by a street, you can go an intersection, intersection. You can search by dates, you can search by the types of accidents, property, personal injury, fatal, pedestrian, and the report. That one I think I printed out was just one that encompasses everything for I'm not sure what the search parameter, what the dates were on that. You can limit it down to some extent, but again, as I said in the meeting last month, the only thing this really does not show you are accidents that we respond to where we don't necessarily take a report.
Right.
So if both parties refuse, don't
Like
want
if everyone's
report
okay.
filed,
It's just minor
reflect
damage.
this. It's still an accident that we responded to, but that information is held within our record management system, not tracked. This shows you the reports that we have filed with the Department of Motor Vehicles.
So, like if an ambulance comes, you guys have to, somebody has to be there. The officer has to go.
For an accident?
Right.
Yes, we would say
So the officer's there. So then that would go into the report. So if it's a real emergency where there's an ambulance, then there would be an officer and there would be a report, right?
Most times, yes.
Gene, did you have anything to share, or?
Because I think that Plattekill in Maine is your big accident waiting to happen.
Yep.
Multiple pedestrians.
So if there is a bicycle accident, what would it go through as at this point?
There is a box on the accident reports that's checked off for bicyclists. Unfortunately, the program itself doesn't have a search parameter.
So does it go in like with pedestrian? It
It
gets
may just
mixed
show up
together?
as an injured. If you can search injuries, it just won't say that it was a bicycle.
Right.
One of the search engine boxes provided to choose property damage, either property damage, personal injury, fatality, or pedestrian. There is not a category for bicyclists, but the accident report does provide.
I mean, there were a couple of different reasons we were looking for this information. I know, the general transportation plan of the county, for instance, or, just New York State DOT isn't really keeping in mind bicyclists and pedestrians the way that, like the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee would like it to, for instance. But there's also, and Amy has brought this up, both here and in a variety of other places, the idea that we have accidents and we're not getting the kind of response, whether it's the flashing amber lights, in the school zone, or just other kinds of safety measures. And there were requests for crosswalks that were, some of them were met, some of them were denied, and so there are things that we were looking for the information, just I guess more generally around the village and towns, that we
DOT can be
have
very
some.
difficult to work with the state roads that come through our village.
I
and our
totally
town.
understand. I understand.
We get yelled
on
at by
many
them
reasons,
about our
yeah.
sign because it's sticking too far out on the shoulder.
Right, right, exactly.
So,
I love that sign.
yeah, well, we
Sometimes you
try
put funny things
Yeah,
on
it's
that
good.
sign.
That's true.
we try to make it a little humorous.
Don't lose your head, something like that about bicycle people, don't lose your head, wear
Chief,
your helmet.
let me ask you a question if I may.
That was, we've got the cure.
Oh, for your cell phone?
Put down your phone.
We've got the
That's great.
addiction, we've got the cure.
When the state gives you a hard time about the signs on 299 or wherever we want to put them or whatever, what can they do about it? I mean, aside from saying we don't like it, what can they
But
do
you mean
about
if we
it?
were going to just put it there anyway?
Yeah. I'm just wondering.
I think that's a good point, Ira.
Yeah,
I do.
I don't know. Some locations, we always put it off to the shoulder the best we can.
No.
Some locations we can't. They just recommend that, and I had a nice conversation with the gentleman, and he said, well, then maybe we can put some cones around it so it's a little more visible, when it's on the recharging cycle. So, we try to abide by the rules as well. At the same time, try to get our message out there, literally.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't abide, by when the rule makes sense, you abide by the rule. When the rule makes no sense, and it's just because that's the way we've always done it, you kind of say, you know what, do me something and see where it goes. Because can I get it to take you into court and say, they did this, and you go to the judge and say, excuse me, we're trying to save lives here. They're trying to say, I don't like your sign. I don't understand what their authority is and what they can do.
Well, I'm not sure what the code violation would be, or what have you. I'm not really sure. But it's just like, if you don't think that this certain roads should be a certain speed, and you're gonna do what you wanna do and see what they do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, you know.
No,
I
it's
wouldn't
not the
take
same
that
thing,
approach.
Chief. It's
But
not the same
It's
thing.
something to, if there is a law that talks about, under the state code that talks about, you know, they may use vehicle and traffic stuff about debris in the roadway, and a sign isn't really maybe made to be in the road. That's why we do put it to the shoulder the best we can. But because it's on the shoulder, is it technically on the road? You know, and
That's why you
that
challenge
may be what
laws.
they're looking at.
That's why you challenge bad
Ellen?
laws.
On this subject, I mean, I wasn't gonna, it's a good opportunity for me to say that as a resident who lives right on Platic Road and crosses there a lot, I think that the fact that you've had an officer randomly, periodically there and ticketing when cars disregard pedestrians has helped enormously. In the time that you've been doing that, I see much more respect for pedestrians crossing the streets. And when a car does go through, I have also, you know, it's like you just aren't, you know, not invariably, but often the driver will actually, you know, I'm sorry, or something like that. So
I
it's
noticed it too.
helping.
It's
So for the bicycle committee, Ulster County Traffic Safety Committee also, every quarter, I believe, comes out with a report, which is a little bit better detailed. And they do a very nice study and search, and they will give us, you know, 4 new faults. I can get copies of reports quarterly. I don't know if the bicycle committee can, you know, foil copies for themselves, or if they wanted to reach out for the quarterly. I think I mentioned that to them once.
I think they are planning on doing that. I'm actually no longer the liaison to the bicycle pedestrian committee, so, and they don't meet in the summer anyway, so all of this is kind of moot till September, but, what? Oh.
To be the liaison.
Okay.
I'm wearing toe
Anything
shoes.
else?
But so, thank you for this information.
On to old business, seized asset. I know that we put that, we went to the town board with that
Yes,
after
sir.
our meeting last month, and then
Correct.
there were some questions. Is that taken care
That
of?
was resolved. They approved the purchase order to take up to $20,000 out of the seized account to purchase an administrative car,
Did we,
a hybrid.
the hybrid?
A hybrid.
Chief, what's the status of the 8,000 we haven't gotten yet?
I'm not too sure, you know what the status is? It's in the mail.
No, I just, you know,
Sometimes it takes some time for the money to.
I know that's what you said last time, so I'm just following it up.
So far, it's not in there yet.
Okay. All right. Great.
Did you have a printout though that I could look at? Cool.
New business, commission appointment procedures and practices. I kind of, sort of answered that with Mr. Littlefoot. Do we need to discuss it anymore? Are there any other questions about it?
Well, I read the minutes, and I'm just gonna ask a question. And maybe I don't understand, although I did read the rules and regulations of the police commission. But it would seem to me, like along the lines of the town board, where I work, that the police commission kind of works the same way, and that determining internal subcommittees and committee assignments, that maybe everybody else would kind of take a vote on it. Yay or nay?
Well, I've been here for 3 years, and I can, you know, and Ira's been here longer than me, and the
Yeah.
chief has been here longer than I have, so the chairs have always made the appointments. The year that I came on board, Justin appointed Matt Aubie. I mean, so there are no votes. We don't take votes. We've never taken votes for appointments for
Really? Because
committee
that was the
assignments.
method I thought I followed.
No, we don't. I mean, I can recall sitting at a town board meeting and your deputy supervisor, I don't recall a vote for that. The
That's in the
appointments,
reorg minutes.
well, liaison to the various committees, are those
It's in the
voted
reorg
on?
minutes.
Okay. But the commission has never, the chair appoints the people, and that's the way it's always worked. I mean, Chief, you've been here, what is it?
Well, I've been chief for 5, and I've attended meetings also as a lieutenant for 6 before that. I don't recall votes, but,
I thought that Ira would make like a recommendation and everybody would vote on it, but I could be wrong and I could be recollecting it incorrectly.
Gene, in all the time that I've been involved, including, not being on here, the chair has always made, because the law says appoint, as opposed to elect. There are spots in the law that say elect, and there are spots that say appoint. Ever since I've been involved, the chair, it's always been, just like the town board, at the discretion of the chair, who he was going to appoint to do what. And if the people didn't like to do it, then they, when Randall says, do you mind or a problem? You take the Aubrey situation, I had wanted, to do it, but the chair said, no, okay, I'd rather have Matt. That's fine. That's your prerogative to do it, okay? When I was chair, I appointed myself. And it's part of the minutes of the meeting, it's in the minutes of the meeting, that the chair has made the following appointment, so-and-so to this, so-and-so to that, so-and-so to the other thing.
I guess I misunderstood, because I thought that it was that the chair makes a recommendation, and the commission, the rest of the commission supports that recommendation.
It's never been done that way. As far as I know, Gene, it has never been done that way.
It's never been done that way, and when I've been here 2.5 years, and the first appointments, it was, you're doing this, you're doing that, and there was no, are you okay, or whatever. I think the appointments that I made in April fit with the skills and talents of the individual commissioners. And after I made those appointments, I asked if there were objections, and there were none. So we proceed as planned.
To point out, when I was chair, okay, we never had a deputy chair. I decided that we needed one, and since there's nothing in the law that said we couldn't, I made an appointment to be deputy chair, to have as much information as I had, so everything would flow. Again, it was not an election, it was just an appointment that I made based upon who I thought would be the best person to be a deputy chair or vice chair, or whatever you want to call it. So again, and I'm only going by my experience, and I can only go back 5 years because I wasn't privy to what the people did in their so-called, sessions that never showed up in the minutes. Because if you look at the old police commission, you won't find anything that they did in the minutes. You won't find appointments in the minutes. You won't find recommendations. Look it over. I've gone through those minutes. So,
Becky, how long have you been taking how long have you been doing this? 5 years.
You weren't here when I was appointed.
Is it that long since
When you were appointed chair?
No, when I was appointed to the commission, you weren't
How
here.
long have you been here, 5 years?
It's
How do you know?
it's
Right after I made chief.
yeah. It's going at the end of the year. It will be 4 years.
When I was on the police commission, it was, I don't think you were here in the beginning unless something, yes, exactly.
No, we had the chief secretary.
That
Used to be the
was-
secretary
It
for
was
the police
Teresa,
commission.
yes.
Yes.
That was it.
And then she didn't like it was too much, and she quit. And that's when.
3 years?
Yes, it's got to be at least 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
2009.
All right.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on commission appointments, procedures, and practices?
Not by me.
No? Okay. Any announcements?
We had those already.
No. No.
Didn't Emmy just make an announcement
No.
before?
That was public comment.
Oh, it's public comment. I'm sorry. I thought it was an announcement. I apologize.
None. We'll take a recess. The chair will entertain a motion to take a recess. We have 2 part-time interviews to do, and they're scheduled at 8:30 and another at 8:50. And one is for police officer and the other is for dispatch. So they're due at 8:30. The chair will entertain a motion to recess until 8:30.
Make a motion, we recess till 8:30?
Is there a second?
Amy second.
Amy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, now you got to order a pizza.
Yeah, right. So we'll go into executive session at 8:30 because
We can't squeeze it in between
what?
the executive session.
Well,
Or you want to do it after the interviews?
Executive session is for the interview.
Oh, okay, so that's the interviews, but then you said you had something else.
No.
That's what you had.
The executive session is for the interviews. We do interviews in executive session.
No, but you said something else in the email, I thought. That there was going to be a discussion about somebody. Something about somebody. Yeah.
Something about,
I can
sorry.
find it in my email.
Something about what? I didn't hear what you said.
Thank you, sir.
Something about a discipline thing.
Because I'll